Welcome to Chef Richard's Kitchen. I'm Chef Richard Miller. Well, Thanksgiving is rapidly coming up, and I thought what I'd do is I'd do a couple episodes on some of the more common foods, especially that you're asked to bring, when we do a potluck Thanksgiving or something like that. And, part of it is going to be dressing for the bird, cranberry sauce. We're going to make, today we're going to make our gratin potatoes. And what's the difference between scalloped and our gratin potatoes? Well, for the most part, they're used interchangeably. And really the way I've always understood it, and somebody will probably find an article somewhere that shows I'm wrong. It wouldn't be the first time, obviously. But scalloped potatoes are usually made, with milk and cream and the potatoes. And au gratin are made with cheese. But I've also seen lots of scalloped potato recipes that have cheese in it too. So the line is very, very blurred. But that's what we're going to make today. And one of the first things that we're going to need to do, and I've already done it because I hate to, use a mandolin, on camera for fear I'm going to cut myself. But we need to take about 3 pounds of, I'm using Yukon Gold potatoes. And I'll put up on a detail camera right here, so you can see it. And I've gone ahead and peeled them, although that's not a requirement. I went ahead and peeled them, and I sliced them into about 3/16 to 1/4 of an inch thick. And that's just about the right size. You'll need about 3 pounds of them, something like that. All right, the other ingredients we're going to be using is we're going to need a cup or a 1/4 cup of just all-purpose flour, 4 tablespoons of butter, 2 cups of cheese. And we're going to use white cheese here. And most of the recipes call for Gruyere cheese. I use probably half Gruyere, half white American. And to me, it tastes fantastic that way. So that's what I usually use. We're going to need about a teaspoon of salt, probably a 3/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, about a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and a teaspoon of onion powder. Add to that, we're going to need about 1/2 cup of heavy cream and 2.5 cups of milk. All right. And as always, I'll go ahead and I'll post the ingredients at the end of this video. So let me go ahead and let's start heating up the pan here. The first thing we want to do is we're going to have to make a little roux. And we're going to do that for a couple of reasons. Number one, with our butter in there, number one, and most important, is it's going to go ahead and it's going to cook that flour taste out of the flour. And we're using the flour because that's what's going to make it thick. That's going to thicken it. All right, we put it in the oven, and after something with flour in it, when it boils, it thickens. So we're going to go ahead and do that. The other reason, if you want a little darker sauce in there, then go ahead and, like the roux, go ahead and stir it until it gets golden or gets a little bit darker. To me, I like it just the regular way, so that's how we're going to do it. So give me a minute here and let's let the butter melt, and I'll be right back. Alright, our butter's pretty well melted here, so let's go ahead and let's put our flour in. And at this point, we're going to need to start stirring. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and I'm switching over to the detail camera so you can see how this is going down in here. We don't really want it. We don't really want to get it too well cooked. And we're about to the point now where the flour taste is cooked out of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit of milk. All right, and now we're going to put in our onion powder. Pepper, garlic powder, and salt, and a little more milk. You see how this flour certainly absorbs a lot of the milk. That's why I want to keep putting a little more in there, just mainly because I don't want it to burn. Make sure we stir the lumps out of it. Now there may be a few little bitty small lumps in there. That's all right. But let's get the big ones out of there. All right, there's the rest of the milk. And here's our cream. Okay, this is warming up nicely. It hasn't boiled yet. I did turn the wattage up a little bit, but the flour is getting well blended in here. Okay, this is warming up nicely. It hasn't boiled yet. I did turn the wattage up a little bit, but the flour is getting well blended in here. Alright, now, it's about ready to boil, but before it boils I want to put half of my cheese. And we're going to do this right now to make it nice and smooth. And also, remember when it boils, it's going to thicken this up quite a bit. What we're going to do then is we're going to take a 3-quart baking dish, and I have one over here that I've sprayed with vegetable spray, like I do everything. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to put the potatoes in here, and then we're going to put it all over in a baking dish. We're going to bake it at 350 for about an hour. Now you notice I'm stirring this pretty much constantly, and the reason is when you have cheese in here, it has a tendency that it can burn pretty easy. So I'm making sure that I stir this. It's thickening up very well right now. And remember, when we put this in and we're going to bake it, it'll thicken up the rest of the way. So right now, let me turn the heat off. And I'm going to put my potatoes in. And we're just going to mix them in. Make sure they're all coated. I've seen people take and layer the potatoes in here and then pour the sauce over it. And that's okay. It's the ones I've seen and done like that have turned out very, very good. The only difference is I just like the sauce all the way around the potato. That's the only reason I do it this way. All right, now what do we have to do? Taste it. Why? Because once it's in the baking dish, you're not going to have much of a chance to taste. So let's go ahead and do it right now. To me, it needs just a little more salt and a little more pepper. Stir this in nicely. Oh, much better. All right. Now let's go ahead and let's put our potatoes in our baking dish. All right. There. Just kind of level it out. And now we're going to put the last of our cheese on top of it. There. All right, now, all right, this looks very good. Now let's go ahead and I want to put a little foil over the top of it. And I'm going to put foil over the top of it for probably about 45 minutes, something like that. And then after that time, I'm going to go ahead and pull the foil off, and we're going to let it brown then. By that time, the potatoes ought to be nice and tender. It ought to be nice and golden on top. And yum, it's time to take a taste. So, let me put it in the oven, and I'll be back in about 40-45 minutes. Don't go away. Okay, the timer's just gone off, and I checked a little earlier after 40 minutes, and it wasn't done. The potatoes were still pretty, firm. So I put them in for another 20 minutes. So it's been an hour at 350 degrees. Now I took them out of the oven, and let's go ahead, let's check them. And here's how we check to see how well they're done. You can see around that we're starting to get a little browning in here, and that's good. And just take your fork and put them down through the potatoes. And they go down very, very smoothly. So, we're not done yet. What we want to do now is we want to go ahead and we want to make sure that the top is nice and golden so that it looks really good. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bump the temperature of the oven up to about 400, and then we're going to put it in for another couple of minutes. Stand by while the oven heats. Alright, the oven just told me it's heated up to 425, so let's go ahead, and this time I'm putting the potatoes in uncovered. And the reason is I want it to get nice and brown on the top. And as long as the foil's on there, it's not going to completely eliminate it, but it'll sure slow it down. So I'm going to leave it off. Alright, I just put it in, and I set the timer for 15 minutes, and I'm going to check it after about 10, see how it's going. I may have to either bring it out a little early, which I doubt, or maybe leave it in a little bit longer. But since there's no foil on there, it's easy to take a look and just see how brown it is. So I'll be right back. Once again, don't go far. Alright, it's been about 15 minutes, and you look down and it's thickened up very, very nicely in here. The potatoes are nice and brown, so let's go ahead and let's plate. Okay, and on the detail camera, you can look at this and you can see how well it's cooked, it's brown. It looks absolutely delicious on here. And trust me, it will be. How they should look. This is how a gratin potatoes, should look. Now, one last thing. Remember what I've always told you. Delicious. You can taste the creaminess of the sauce. You can taste the creaminess of the potatoes, and Yukon Golds really do have a nice creamy taste when they're baked. And you can taste the rest of the spices, the onion and the garlic in here. So I pronounce this one an absolute winner. So next time you need to take something to a Thanksgiving or any kind of a gathering and they ask you to bring a side dish, this is a good one to bring. It's extremely easy and it's extremely good. Now, last things you might want to do is you might want to take and sprinkle just a little bit of chopped parsley on the potatoes. If you want to put maybe bacon bits on there, that's fine. Sauteed mushrooms. Remember, this is your dish. Make it however you want. I've shown you how I like to do it. Now, it's your turn. Go ahead and let's make this, and I want to know how you do. So please, go ahead and leave me a comment. Send me an email at chefrdmiller@att.net and let me know how it comes out. I'm always interested in hearing how my viewers, are doing and how they do this. If you have any questions or you have any suggestions, let me know. But until then, I want you to remember, thank you again for watching me. Thanks for letting me into your home for this session. Take care. God bless. Remember my prime directive. Cooking should always, above all else, be fun. We'll see you next episode. Bye for now.